Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships, and in this video I'm going to be talking about all the Black Friday ships that are available in this year. We'll explain you some sort of detail that why is it really good for all the game modes, including the randoms, the ranked battles, the co-op, operations, and even asymmetric battles. We'll try to cover as quickly as possible, and we'll try to explain these ships in this video. So if you do find this video interesting and also useful at the same time, be sure to hit a like, subscribe to this channel because I make daily World of Warship videos, and I always try to help every single viewer that can at least get something from the video itself. And let's start talking about with our first tier 6 French battleship, and that is the Dunkerque. Now Dunkerque, honestly, for the random battles is, I would say, not so good. I mean, it's okay. It's, I would say, mediocre. And the reason why the Dunkerque B, if you want to buy the black version, is simple that, well, you do have 330mm guns. They don't overmatch. Your armor, obviously, is only 26mm plating. So that means that you can be overmatched by battleships that having 380mm guns or above. So these are the things that kind of makes this tier 6 Dunkerque a bit weaker, especially if you might be thinking of bow tanking. Well, overmatching will kind of kills it, but still it's not bad. And you do have really good guns. You have 1.7 Sigma. Unfortunately, it does not come up with reload booster, which is kind of the strength for the French battleships. But however, it is still not bad to have a ship that if you want to have a feel like John Bart at tier 6 without having main battery reload booster and obviously low caliber guns, slightly worse accuracy, you kind of get it. So at least for randoms, it's not that great. To be honest, there are many other ships that are pretty good. And if you talk about the co-op battles, I think it's pretty decent. If you play sometimes co-op battles, you can definitely take this ship in and you can push in simply bow tank, and most of the time the BBs, or I would say the bots, they are usually not accurate. So you will be getting huge value from the Dunkerque B in that regard, in the co-op battles, if you are looking in that way. And also, if you take a look at the scenarios, I think it's not bad. Scenarios, you will be definitely having a great time. Yes, I would love to see a main battery load booster, which will improve the gun performance, but otherwise, it's a very decent ship for the operations, and as well as the asymmetric. Maybe if you have a lot of ships. I don't know if we play asymmetrics. Let me just check. I just didn't even play the asymmetric battle at lower tiers, but you can play asymmetric. So I think that it can be a bit difficult to work around with the Dunkerque B since it does not have that firepower, but usually you won't be getting overmatched since a lot of the battleships will be lower tiers, so you might be getting away with many things when you are playing the Dunkerque B. So I would say for the randoms, not so good, but for other game modes, it will be worth it. Now let's take a look at the Repulse, or the black version. And honestly, Repulse is, compared to the Dunkerque itself, is a lot better. Now, I really like Repulse. Couple of reasons. First of all, you have 380mm guns. Now you can overmatch your equivalent and even sometimes your higher tier level of battleships. Like at tier 7, you're still going to have 26mm plating like you find on that Dunkerque, and you can literally like overmatch the Dunkerque. So, and obviously overmatch all the equivalent tier ships, and that is the strength of the Repulse. Also, your main battery firing range is pretty decent, and you still have access to spotter plane, and you also have access to engine boost, and your speed is also pretty decent at 33.3 knots, with also having heals, which actually is one less if I'm not wrong, but they have buffed it later on. I just realized it that they have buffed the Repulse, and now it is a solid battleship. Even the HP pool compared to the Dunkerque, if I really compared with Dunkerque B, look at the HP. You have better HP as well in the Repulse, and that is why, because of the gun performance, and also, by the way, having 2.0 Sigma and sort of, I would say, slightly better dispersion than the Dunkerque itself. Again, I have to compare it with Dunkerque because if you might be thinking of lower tier ships, if you might be thinking of Repulse, I think Repulse for random battles is really good. I just absolutely love it. Accuracy is really good. You have only 6 guns. Reload time, they have also buffed it if I'm not wrong. You have now 25 seconds of reload time. And I just love it. It smashes cruisers. It deals so good damage, consistent damage to battleships. Yes, your armor can be slightly worse, but here's the thing. You do have some side plating that can really work in your favor. If you angle at time, you can bounce basically all the AP caliber, no matter what. Yes, your bow can be worse, 16mm. That is quite light plating even compared to the equivalent tier battleships, but Repulse is really good. It has good speed and, overall very worth it in randoms. And obviously, if it is worth it in randoms, honestly, it's good in co-op operations. It's also good in co-op battles. I don't think so you will be wrong in any way or form when playing Repulse. It's a beast of a ship, to be honest, at tier 6. I just absolutely love it. Accuracy wise, it will be super solid. Very good investment if you are thinking of buying a lower tier black ship, and that is the Repulse itself. I think this is a very good deal for even operations. If you think of it, like, because it smashes, it does really good damage. Consistent ship. It's a consistent ship and does have, I would say, some weaknesses, but very less compared to Dunkerque B itself. And I also forget the fact that your concealment is very decent, 12.6 kilometer for that speed. I mean, I haven't even used the brisk, and if you use the brisk, you can get it to around 40 knots or more, something like that. And well, you can also heal 60% of the pen damage and also 33% of the citadel damage, which is very nice for this sort of battle cruiser. I think it's pretty decent, no matter what. Now, if we take a look at the Atlanta B, which is the American light cruiser that does have access to radar, which is, I would say, a very good thing, because at tier 7, usually cruisers don't have radar, but if you do have one, you can counter DDs at lower tiers. You can absolutely bully DDs, and Atlanta can do that really well. But obviously, it does have a lot of weaknesses. Unfortunately, Atlanta is having destroyer caliber guns, decent power. Range is, I would say, would be better if they can give it more range. But I mean, this ship is utilized against, I would say, enemies behind the covers. Like, you have to stay behind the covers and farm enemies like that. And if you are not good in this, Atlanta is not going to be good for you. Like, it specifically requires to use islands as cover. Otherwise, you don't have really good HP. You don't have really good survivability. You have pretty bad armor, 13mm armor all over the place, and your citadel is obviously exposed. So if you really thinking of buying this ship for randoms, it's difficult. If you are an experienced cruiser player that knows how to use, I would say, a tier 10 booster or something that you have consistently used the ship like light cruiser around the islands as cover, maybe the Atlanta will do some job for you well. Honestly, it will do really well, but again, it's really having that skill required to do that. And if you do have this, well, you can buy it for Atlanta B, but still, for randoms, it's a tough choice. We do have some other really good ships that also have, by the way, smokes. So Atlanta will be at the back foot if I take a look for only specifically randoms. But on the other hand, here comes the thing that makes it very interesting. If you want to play it in operations, amazing, very good in operations. It's going to be really wonderful. If you want to play in co-op battles, it is really good. Now we are fighting against bots, so usually the bots are not exactly designed to just like pinpoint and shoot like the normal players does, and that's where you will be freely utilize the potential that you have with the guns, which is, by the way, very good. To be honest, we have a lot of guns and you will perform really well, and you will be doing really well if you are looking to play it in co-op battle. Asymmetric battle can be a bit difficult, but again, because you have to fight against tons of ships, and it can be a bit rough in asymmetric because you don't have access to heal. But for the co-op battles, and I would say for the operations, Atlanta is actually a very nice choice. If you are a co-op battle player, usually you play co-op battles or you play operations, Atlanta is solid. By the way, to give you some idea, Atlanta, I used to play it crazy, or the Flint, which is also available for coal. Those are basically Atlanta class ships, whatever you call it. I played that a lot in Narai operations. I remember I have farmed tons of base XP while playing Atlanta and Flint in the operations. So I would say Atlanta is a very solid ship for those game modes, but in randoms, it can be difficult, and I kinda have this moment where I will not gonna recommend that, to be honest, for the randoms. The tier 7 Russian light cruiser Lazo is also available in the Black Friday event, but also available for gold resource. So that makes it a bit difficult to recommend because you can buy this ship for coal at any time, and getting a black version sounds kind of unreasonable, to be honest. I mean, it does have guns, 9 of them. It does have a decent range. You can farm it. You do have access to special spotter plane that you can use, rapid takeoff spotter, which gives you a lot of range. But at long ranges, specifically Lazo can have a bit slower, arcier shells, difficult to aim if you go beyond 17.3 kilometer, but they can still work if there is the battleship that is like not maneuvering or moving much, and that's where the extra range does kicks in. But otherwise, your armor is very, I would say, vulnerable. It's a bit squishy, to be honest. Like, look at that citadel. This is 100 millimeter. You're just gonna get smashed by battleships. So you have to play at long ranges. Specifically, you have limited torpedo range like those on Atlanta. Your concealment is also, is good. I haven't built it for concealment, but Lazo, honestly, since it's available for coal resource, I really would not recommend you to buy this Black Friday ship directly for doubloons or either for money, because you can get it for coal. But if you want to, that's totally up to you. I will not recommend you. You can just simply get it for coal. So I will gonna not talk about it much. Is it worth it for Coop battles? Or for the asymmetric? Well, I would say better play Atlanta, because Atlanta does have still better DPM numbers. It has high reload time of 9 seconds, whereas Atlanta does have like 4.8 seconds on a lot of these low caliber guns, but you still have a lot of consistency. You have a lot of DPM coming in compared to the Lazo. So again, Lazo sort of does not kind of make sense, and I would say avoid this ship, buying it from the Black Friday containers itself. Now we have a premium tier 7 destroyer Sims, and well, I have a mixed feelings about it. Well, the reason why I have mixed feelings is because, well, you do have American smokes, which is really nice. Like having those smokes and also somewhat decent firepower. I mean, it's not super good, but it's not bad either. You can utilize your smoke and farm battleships at ranges if you are playing it in random battles. And also you can have the torpedoes that having, I would say, 10,000 damage. Better than the not the pan European destroyers. I mean, those like you find on Scharnhorst, and I would say the Holland line. They have less damage, tier 4 tier bases, and Sims still have better tops. So that's where Sims torpedoes might look good, but still, honestly, Sims seems to be a bit rough, especially because of its concealment. The maneuverability is like one of, I would say, like crazy good, like rudder shift, turning circle, even the speed is pretty good. Like in terms of maneuverability, it's a very agile destroyer. But on the other hand, the tops are average, and also, your concealment is one of the things that can be really difficult. And just because of the concealment, it's not competitive whatsoever, especially that we do have Shiratsu that have 5.7 or 8. We have so many other destroyers that have good concealment around 6 or something. It can be outspotted, and that's why in randoms it can have issues, and especially that you don't have heal. If it would have heal like you find at tier 8 Kid, that would be an entirely different story, because then you get some survivability. Your HP is okay, 16.2k, that's not bad. But still, if you want to consider it in randoms, there are a lot of other destroyers, so I would not recommend playing it in randoms. But on the other hand, if you want to play it in co-op, hell yeah. In operations, pretty decent. And in all the other operations, asymmetric is, a bit difficult, because you do have a lot of ships pushing in, and the ships like Atlanta or even the Lazo that have a lot of DPM coming in, or anything that have a lot of alpha, like for example the Repulse have really good overmatch and penetration and damage that it can do. Sims does have not that firepower, and sometimes you can utilize the torpedoes, but you have to send like basically a full send of all of the torpedoes, all or 8 of them, to dev strike a battleship, because sometimes 4 torps on a good torpedo battleship at tier 7 is not enough, or tier 6 or tier 5 is not enough. At least if we take a look at asymmetric battles, you definitely need that torpedo power, and the guns, they can be a bit underwhelming under so many ships pushing you. Sims will definitely gonna suffer a bit, and that's why it can be decent in co-op battles and I would say operations, but asymmetric, it's a bit rough, and for I would say the randoms, it's also a bit rough, so not worth it in these areas. Now if we take a look at the Scharnhorst B, well, honestly, we do have the Scharnhorst 43 version in the armory for coal, for 75,000 coal as well, which does have kinda identical performance. And I would say and argue that Scharnhorst 43 is kinda having better performance because you do have access to speed boost. If you look at the Scharnhorst 43 that is right now available for coal, it's kinda identical in many ways. If you can look at the HP pool, it's basically same. Yes, your guns have better reload time in Scharnhorst, but your, I would say, secondaries are overall better in starting fires. As you can see, we do have really good fire chance on these secondaries. We do have some decent secondaries going for it. While if you take a look at the Scharnhorst, well, it does have some less fire chance. You can see 4% fire chance, 4% fire chance. Scharnhorst 43 will have 12% fire chance. So I don't know why. Suddenly they have boosted the fire chance in the Scharnhorst 43 and also have given, I would say, the meta like speed boost. You get a lot of speed and you also have better torpedoes than the Scharnhorst itself, having 45 seconds of reload time. So if you are looking to play it in randoms, Scharnhorst 43 versus Scharnhorst 43 will be a clear winner, and obviously it's available for coal. Like, then the Scharnhorst purchase gets a bit rough. If you are a German guy and want to have the Scharnhorst as well, maybe for collecting purposes that might be worth it, but otherwise the subtle differences that Scharnhorst 43 has sort of better. The gun performance is similar, but the secondary performance is way better, and that means that you will be doing really fine in the co-op battles, in the operations, especially in operations and asymmetrics. Also, you will have ton of fun. And also, I think if I look at the healing, now, I just thought that it does have a 60 seconds of cooldown time. I wish any German battleship come up with a 60 seconds of cooldown time. I don't know, Wargaming, why they don't add that thing. I really wish. Hopefully at some point we will get a German battleship brawler that does have better cooldown time. It also have like sort of worse cooldown time, but it is something that you have to deal with, but it's still really fun. I find that Scharnhorst 43 to be doing really well in brawling situations, whereas Scharnhorst will be slightly doing better in gun performance. So now that is totally up to you. What do you want to pick? Honestly, yes, by the way, you do have the spotter plane. Scharnhorst 43 does have what? The fighter, so you are limited in that regard, but still, Scharnhorst 43 seems to be a better pick, and it's sort of more related to today's meta. Scharnhorst was a very, released long time ago, so that's why they might not have changed much, and they come up with the Scharnhorst 43, but again, it's not worth it for randoms. Maybe you want to buy it for collection, otherwise, not really good, especially when you have this version. Now we have a tier 8 German carrier Graff Zeppelin B. Now honestly, Graff Zeppelin Wargaming has never showed some kindness towards it in terms of its planes performance. I mean, the planes, especially the AP bombers, they are very, very, I would say, unreliable. Torpedo bombers, they do have some good damage going for it. Rockets does sometimes well, but these planes are very, very squishy. The carrier itself is actually interesting, not from its planes, but also if we take a look at this artillery, the secondary specifically, it gets special dispersion on its secondaries. And since Wargaming has added the manual control on carriers, which means that if you want to play other than randoms, now obviously, I was gonna say that in random battles, it's not worth it. But in other game modes, if you have to buy the ship just for solely fun, just to basically farm any ship that pushing you in co-op battles, in operations, in asymmetrics, maybe you can utilize its secondary for its speciality, but I don't think so it's that good of a deal, considering it's very expensive still, even the discount is there. The plane's performance is absolutely bad. I would say mediocre, to say the least, and that's why I cannot recommend it in random battles. It will be struggling. It will be in struggling. You can, however, play it in co-op battles. The operations. If you want to asymmetric battles, you will still gonna be having some issues. But at least you do have secondary armament that is very strong. This is the only reason why I love Graff Zeppelin, that the secondaries can be super fun. Otherwise, performance overall is definitely average, pretty mediocre, and that's why I have a difficulty recommending this carrier, because there are other very, very decent carriers that you can buy for your doubloons or for your money for a Black Friday carrier. Now if we take a look at the Kaga, which is the Japanese tier 8 premium carrier, honestly Kaga, after so many years when they have released this ship, still has a lot of things going for it, and especially it torpedo bombers, and especially if you are a newer player. I mean, Kaga gets away from a lot of issues that you have during, understanding the whole curvature of carrier mechanics. So if you are a newer player, honestly Kaga can be very forgiving because it does have tons of plane reserves. If you look at the plane reserves, you have 38 planes on deck. And then you have also the HE dive bomber that have 38 planes of deck. So it's basically having a plane factory. And while you do have tons of planes, you're still having the very decent aircraft preparation time of 85.5 seconds. So you will be loading at least 13 or 14 planes in a single game. That is, and on top of that, tons of planes on deck. And then obviously the best thing about the Kaga are the torpedo bombers, and you drop 4 of them and you have 5,400 damage with really good speed on the tops itself, and they can be pretty menace if you are top tier. So Kaga in randoms is a very strong carrier. If you want to use bombs, HE dive bombs, they are very potent against destroyers if you know what you're doing. The torpedo bombers are, you basically ham on any single target. I mean, sometimes even tier 10 ships, like for example the Yamato, for example the GK, for example some average sort of anti-air ships or below average like the Yamato Kurfürst, or maybe some other ships like for example the Conqueror. I somehow managed to have full strikes on Conquerors and GKs, and you will be doing crazy damage with these torpedoes. You can easily able to get 2 attack flights on a single target. They have decent HP. You can see 2000 HP is not too bad for a tier 8 carrier. You can somehow with these tons of plane reserves, if you know what you're doing, fight against tier 10s, and you will be an absolute bully against tier 8s. So in random battles, it's a monster. Especially if you are top tier, this can be very potent ship, especially a carrier. The way it's designed, it is definitely very strong. Now on the other hand, it does have, I would say, not that special armor. It's having very vulnerable citadel, but at least they have given it really good concealment of 12.2 kilometer, which you can slightly improve if you want to use it. But, and also the thing that I kind of like, that it does have heals on top bombers, which is really nice. So you can be able to get to do the strike on a battleship that has really impressive A and can still get away with it. So Kaga all in all is a impressive ship. Very strong ship. If you are thinking of buying a carrier itself, pretty much worth it, especially for newer players. Newer players will definitely be very highly recommended. You do have a lot of planes to throw, okay, but you don't throw the planes onto a cruiser that has defensive AFI or something that can shred your planes, because again, these are still a lower tier planes, so you will definitely not gonna be getting away with tons of mistakes. So that is one thing. But if you take a look at the Coop battles, amazing. Oh my goodness, that Coop battles scenarios, really good. Like the consistency of the torpedo bombers, especially when we have the boss that are not as powerful as the humans, and they will be tend to move in straight line. You will have more reliability with torpedo bombers as well as HE dive bombers. You will have a lot of fun if you want to play it, even in the operations, in the scenarios. It will do really fine, honestly, if you just know what you're doing, and especially if you want to first of all play them in the asymmetrics, even in the asymmetrics Coop battle operations. I would say you can practice it there playing Kaga, and then you can somehow get enough practice. You then switch to random battles and you will be having a lot more fun once you understand how the Kaga works. So it's definitely worth it, for at least in my opinion, if you might be looking for your first carrier. That's what I would say. Now if we take a look at the Loyang B, which is the Pan-Asian destroyer, well, in terms of the gun performance that you will be, I would say, fighting against enemy destroyers at tier 8, if there are some good gunboats, Loyang will be a bit underwhelming. You only have 4 guns. Your HP is actually not bad, it's decent. The torpedo bombers are also, sorry, not torpedo bombers, the torpedoes itself are also like pretty okay. I mean, these are all sort of above average or average-ish sort of stats. But what makes Loyang really good, and this is something that makes Loyang be still pretty relevant and powerful, is the combination of the hydro and the smoke generator. Now you do have American smokes, okay, since it was sort of the American ship, right? If you can look at the details, it entered service, it's specifically bid for US Navy, so it's basically US class ship then that is transferred to the Pan Asian or something like that. The combination of concealment and hydro can catch DDs very, very off guard. Like 5.5 kilometer hydro, 5.8 kilometer detection mean that if you smoke up, get spotted, okay, and you pop the hydro, you basically catch a DD. And now what he will do? Well, if he is dumb enough to push you even more and then start to turn out and accelerate and run away, well, chances are that you will reduce his HP to half or maybe even more. So you can be a perfect denial for the cap contest, and that's why it can be pretty relevant. I mean, obviously, if there are some destroyers that have radar, we have the Orkan, a European destroyer which have radar, or maybe a hydro DD like the Germans that can push you and can counter you like that. Well, Loyang B can suffer a bit, but at least the ships that don't have hydro, the ships that can smoke up but don't realize that the Loyang itself has hydro, they can be caught very off guard, and that's where your guns will be dealing pretty fine, because they can't shoot you, you can shoot them in return, and then you can use the torpedoes. Torpedoes are average, to be honest. Again, the same thing like I find on Sims. Average torpedoes, you can utilize them, you can work around with them, but the combo of the concealment and the hydro is something that makes it interesting. So is it worth it in randoms? Honestly, firepower is not there. The only thing, the gimmick that the Loyang B has is exactly that, the hydro smoke combo. That's it. Otherwise, I mean, you can even play Sims at tier 7 and it will have that similar firepower. Look at the gun performance. You have pretty much similar reload time compared to the Sims itself. And that's why I might rate it a bit more for sort of competitiveness. Like, it does have that competitive edge, but on the other hand, in terms of the firepower that you want to get to do a lot of damage in co-op battles, in scenarios, in operations, or I would say the asymmetric battles, it will definitely gonna have some issues. That's what I totally feel, and that's why I will probably gonna avoid buying this ship, because, well, we do have some good alternates, to be honest, if we really looking at some other Black Friday ships. So that's why I would like you guys to not buy this for even randoms or maybe for other operations or game modes, even though it does have that gimmick that can work well in, I would say, under some scenarios. Now we have another aircraft carrier, the Saipan B, and honestly the Saipan is more towards high risk, high reward ship, and it is very sensitive to air attacks. Like, if you do a critical mistake, not realizing the opponent's AA potential, you don't have a lot of plane reserves. They do have ton of damage. Like, in terms of the damage performance, Saipan can be an absolute beast. Like, for example, the torpedo bombers, it has pretty absurd. For tier 8, you do have like 6.5k torpedo damage, and you throw a lot of tops and you still have 3 attack flights. It can be devastating. You can drop 8 torpedoes dealing 6.5k damage on a battleship that is around tier 7, tier 8 or tier 9. You can do really well, but it's very sensitive, and you need to know and understand a lot of game mechanics to make this ship work, because the planes are, I would say, compared to today's standards and after all the nerfs that they have done over the years, it can be really tricky, and also the aircraft preparation is not good. As you can see, look at the aircraft preparation time, 111 second, 135, 128, and you do have like very small plane reserves, and that's why, and by the way, these planes are tanky. These are kind of like tier 10 planes, right? BTT destroyer, these are all tier 10 planes, but the problem is they have less, I would say, reserves. Kaga has tons of reserves, and that's why it can get away with so many things while still retains decent amount of damage on their payloads, whereas Saipan does have slightly better payload and a slightly better performance in terms of damage wise. It will struggle in terms of its survivability. Overall, you have to really be picky, like super isolated, a very somewhat decent, or I would say mediocre anti-air. Like, anti-air numbers should be good enough that your planes survive in a long run. And if you even try to just go onto a overlap cruiser and battleship at the same time, if you have multiple ships around each other and you just go and drop, your plane will be just poof, it's just gone. It's just going to be that. So very, very, very much experience required to play this ship. Otherwise, it's a very, very strong ship, without a doubt. But compared to today's standards, it can be very tricky. But if we take a look at the randoms, well, I would say avoid it and buy just simply Kaga. If you're really looking to get a carrier, I think Kaga is the best. It's definitely good for new players. Saipan is really good for experienced players. If you're having like tons of experience under your belt, if you have a really consistent games on carrier, then you might I would say experiment with Saipan B. And even then, we have a lot of other carriers at tier 8, which I would still say sort of better because they have more balanced approach compared to the very specialized approach that the Saipan B has. But in terms of how it will be performing in co-op battles, operations, scenarios, etc., or maybe the asymmetric battles, well, it's not bad now. But again, if there are overlapping cruisers and battleships at the same time that you are about to drop on them, you will soon realize your planes will not gonna survive. It's very difficult. So these are the things that you're keeping in mind. And I would say again, if you want to get the feel of that damage from the torpedo bombers, that's the only gimmick that you can basically watch some videos on YouTube, to be honest. Otherwise, there are some other carriers, or they will be doing better. Avoid buying this, to be honest. It's decent in doing some damage with these tiny team rockets, but even then, it's not worth it. It's a difficult ship to play, even for other game modes like the co-op or the scenarios, etc. Now let's take a look at one of my favorite destroyer in World of Warships. One of my favorite destroyer at tier 8, the Cossack B. Honestly, I absolutely love this destroyer. Many reasons, many strengths, and very, very little weaknesses. Like, very little weaknesses. You cannot complain about Cossack, to be honest. The only thing that I might even take a look as a sort of a weakness, only thing, and that is the entire air defense. It is really bad. Except that, every single thing is awesome. Really, sorry, let me just show you, like really good HP, really good guns, really good reload time, really impressive concealment. You have 5.5 kilometer concealment, considering that you have 8 guns that have really decent reload time. And with this amount of DPM, and you do have short burst smoke generator at the same time, which means that you can disengage on demand most of the time, if not all the time. I mean, you cannot really compare it with the Burroughs line. They have time-based consumable smoke, but still the short burst smokes does have better dispersion time overall, and you have 7 of them, and you can have extra with the help of Andrew Cunningham, and you have the speed boost, and you have built-in acceleration. You are amazing. This destroyer, if you don't have it, you are buying one of the best destroyers at tier 8. Not only that it's going to be good in randoms, it's also going to be good in ranked battles, it's also going to be good in every single game mode. It is one of the, not only the powerful, but also the most fun, and also the strongest ship to win games. If you really want to win games in randoms and ranked, Cossack is one of the strongest picks. And I am saying because I have some really good time, really fun experience. This ship is a beast, man. I just absolutely love this. Like 5.5 kilometer concealment, considering that you also have the hydro, the speed boost, the short burst smokes, which I would say the meta class, thing in this game. Like, this is meta level thing. Like, this is the thing that defines the meta, and this is where it shines like amazing. And then you also have torpedoes that if you might compare it with the lightning that also have really good concealment, you might argue, right? Well, the thing is, at least it's a premium. The lightning is not a premium, so it does not earn credits. It has less drops, but it does still have really good reload time. 66 seconds of reload time is almost a minute that you can throw these torpedoes, dealing pretty decent damage. And you can smoke up and farm and set fires and also get some flood sometimes along the way. Make this ship really good. I love this ship, and you have like protection from tops almost all the time. Like, seriously, and that maneuverability, you cannot complain, man. Your speed is good. Everything about this ship. Honestly, I remember the days when they have sold this ship for only $2. $2 I got that ship Cossack. Believe it or not. That's why, and also because of the powerful gimmicks that it has, everything that it has, absolutely worth it in all game modes. Pretty solid ship. Very amazing. Absolutely worth it if you are looking to buy a Black Friday destroyer at tier 8. Highly recommended. Now we will be taking a look at the Chkalov, which is the Soviet tier 8 premium aircraft carrier. And I tell you one thing, when they have released this aircraft carrier, it used to be broken. It still is a very strong carrier, but it used to be broken because it has the skip bombers that have the damage like that of Nakhimov, and you still have a lot of bombs in payload. And at the same time, you have torpedo bombers that deal damage like Nakhimov. They have nerfed the torpedoes. It used to have 5,200 damage, believe it or not, and you have a 1 tier lower this premium. It used to be broken by many ways, and even after the nerfs, it is one of the very strongest aircraft carrier. I love this ship. If you are a carrier player, I think you will definitely gonna enjoy this. Now, here comes the thing. Should I buy Chkalov or the Kaga? Because both are really good. Now, the answer is pretty simple. If you have experience playing the Soviet carriers, because this is a design which we have one attack flight, which means that they are different compared to the Kaga itself. So if you have not touched a Soviet carrier before, chances are that you will need to have some learning before taking a look at this ship. If you have played the Soviet carriers, go for it. You will absolutely be having a lot of fun. And by the way, in all game modes, it's going to be good. And the best thing about the Chkalov, that if you position your carrier around the islands, and especially that it will be doing wonders. Even in the randoms, if you are an experienced player, if you position your carrier very close to enemy ships, somehow, if you get behind the island and position yourself well, it will be so much freaking rewarding than compared to any other carrier, because you will just keep coming up with these attack flights, keep dropping them, keep hammering them, keep farming damage until their HP will be gone. So all the bombs, skip bombers, they have bombers, these bombers specifically, it has the reticle circle like, which absolutely deal well against destroyers. Torpedo bombers will deal well against battleships. Skip bombers will do well against cruisers. You have all the armaments to deal with all classes, including the carriers. So I would say, and by the way, it has tier 10 fighter planes. If I can show you in the equipment section, if you look at the torpedo bombers and skip bombers, these having the tier 10 planes. In terms of the patrol fighters, you have number of fighters, that is 7. The action radius is also like the tier 10 one, so that makes it even more interesting. So I would prefer Kaga first if you are a newer player, but if you have played the Soviet carriers and find them more interesting because of the one attack flight design, Chkalov might get more recommendation. So is it worth it for randoms and all that stuff? Absolutely. It's a very good carrier. I like it. I enjoy it. I'm sure you will do that too, but you have to really find out for yourself whether the design itself is worth it. And by the way, I haven't talked about the fact that compared to the Kaga, you have better deck armor, which means that you will be having less issues at long ranges against those battleships that cannot overmatch your deck armor. So that is something that I also like about the Chkalov. Now, if we take a look at the Atago B, I would say it's a very fine cruiser. It's one of the oldest cruiser in the game, yet till to this date, it still is very relevant to the meta, and I still love Atago. Now, a couple of reasons why I would kind of recommend this ship in random battles. Now, first of all, if you have played the Japanese heavy cruiser line, the Zao line, if you find it very comfortable, if you find the way they played, if you have played them, you will love Atago. It's a very good ship. It does have access to something which I really like, and that is heal. And you have pretty decent guns, really good accuracy like you find on Zao. Zao-like accuracy, if I'm not wrong, it does have the destroyer dispersion. Decent reload time, even though it's a bit long, 16 seconds. But I think it's all well worth it. And then you also have these classic Japanese torpedoes that you throw a lot of them. Anyone pushing will eat them. And that's why Atago is a kiter, can do really well against the battleships or anything that is pushing you. And it is definitely a solid ship regardless of how much time it got released. Like, I think many years ago. I think the moment they have come up with this game release, I think within a year they come up with the Atago, if I'm not wrong. You guys can tell me if you have played this game for long. Atago is a very sort of a fine wine like cruiser. Absolutely great in randoms, and also if you want to play it in operations, in co-op battles, it will be pretty good. Now in the randoms, obviously you will be fighting against tier 10s. It can be a bit rough because the range is a bit limited. 15.8 kilometer versus, I would say, Zao's, 16 kilometer or something like that, and not having, I would say, the spotter plane. This can be a bit rough when you are up tiered. Otherwise, if you are looking to play it in comp battles, you will be very comfortable. If you are looking to play it in operations, you will be very comfortable. So this ship is pretty good in all game formats. It's just that in randoms, it can be a bit difficult when you are up tiered, but even then you do have the heal still going for it. Without a doubt, a very decent ship if you want to have that Japanese premium feeling at tier 8. Now if we take a look at these German battleships, the Brandenburg B and the Tirpitz B, well, they are okay, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of these German battleships, at least in the random mode, okay? In the random game mode, they can be a bit difficult, especially if you are up tiered. You have a lot of guns for the Brandenburg, whereas Tirpitz does have 380mm guns. Decent reload time, you do have secondaries, you are a brawler, you do have torpedoes. You also have torpedoes on the Brandenburg, if I'm not wrong. So these can work sometimes well in random, especially when you are top tier. If you're top tier, you will have some great fun. Sometimes you will have the time where you will be dealing pretty decent. Consistency is there, sometimes with the guns, although it's not having super accurate guns, but still it is decent. You do have better range on Tirpitz. In the Brandenburg, well, you do have 12 guns, so you will be sort of a battle cruiser, but accuracy wise it's just gonna be okay, average-ish, because again it does not have that battle cruiser dispersion that you find on Mecklenburg at tier 10 for a steel ship. But even then, it's fun. It can be really sometimes useful in random battles, especially if you are top tier. But if you are bottom tier, and obviously if we talk about the survivability issues in random battles, obviously even though you do have interesting armor plating, like in the case of Brandenburg, you have 18mm plating, but it's very small, and that's why I would say it's not kind of helping a lot. You have massive superstructure also on the Tirpitz. If you look at the superstructures, you will be farmed really well. If any battleship shoot at this area, especially with the AP, you will get full pan damage sometimes, and that's why in the randoms it can be a bit difficult, with even though having a lot of tools to deal as a brawler. But if we take a look at these battleships specifically for co-op battle, for operations, oh yes, they are ton of fun, without a doubt. That's where these gun performance and secondaries will absolutely gonna roll in, and you will having a lot of fun. I can tell you, if you play Tirpitz and Brandenburg in asymmetric mode, if you know what you're doing, you will have a great time. In the randoms, not really, and kind of not recommended in that game mode. But in the case of those areas where the operations, where you want to play in co-op battles, where you want to play even asymmetric battles with the secondaries, you will have a lot of fun. Very fun to play these two battleships. Without a doubt, you will have some great time for exactly what they are capable of. Now, I'm sure you might have heard of the Mainz, and also a tier 10 version of Mainz, which is coming for Steel Will event, and that is the Bremen. And well, honestly, if I talk about this cruiser, I think it's a great ship. Really good gun performance. You have a lot of guns, very good reload time. You do have LS Alpha. You do have decent, considering you throw so many shells, fire chance. Range is decent. The thing about the Mainz is all about that you just pew behind the islands, and you can also play it even at long ranges. I mean, you are basically a kiter. You want to kite and farm battleship, and you farm really well. You just farm really well, and if you love HE, you will set fires and can deal a lot of damage. But if you switch to AP, that is surprisingly in the Mainz, and that is the reason why I love this cruiser. It's because the AP performance is actually pretty good, considering that you throw so many shells in a very short time. I mean, if you hit the upper belt of the battleships even in randoms, you can easily get 7k, 8k, 9k volleys every 6 seconds, which is very huge advantage. So in terms of damage performance, if we take a look at in randoms, I mean, obviously the only thing if Mainz would have, which is the heal, I would just simply close my eyes and simply buy this beast of a cruiser. The thing about this ship is that it does not have heal. This is the only thing that if it does get, honestly, it becomes like everywhere a huge thing. It's so strong. It's just that you have to be really conservative about your survivability issues, because its armor is not impressive. It's a light cruiser, so expect a lot of damage from the overmatching battleships. And obviously, if you are in tier 8, most battleships will overmatch 25mm armor. They have 380mm guns most likely, so you cannot tank. And this is the biggest weakness of the Mainz. If the Mainz somehow managed to have something like maybe I might be a bit too much here, but if it does have like short burst smokes, oh my god, even two short burst smokes, and this ship would be one of the most strongest ships in the random. Even two short burst smokes is gonna be so much good, but it doesn't. So survivability wise, it can sometimes struggles in tier 10 matchmaking, and even then, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to use islands as cover, it's a solid cruiser, very fun to play, very fun to play. And I mean, I'm talking about this in randoms, okay? If you're up tiered, it will struggle a bit, without a doubt, but your damage out will never gonna die out. It's an amazing ship for that. And also the thing that once you have the bots that are in co-op battles, in operations, in other game modes, well, then you can be having a lot more comfortness fighting against them, because they are not humans, and that's where the Mainz will be way much powerful. Like, super fun, and also really good base XP farmer, because if you do a lot of damage, you will get base XP. And Mainz and Atlanta, you know, those ships will be doing really well because of their DPM numbers. And you have improved pen, by the way, 38mm. You can never forget that you do have really good penetration on these guns, because these are German caliber. So these have at least that gimmick going for it. So highly recommended. I would say recommended for the randoms. If you have played some of these cruisers, like light cruisers, and you want to be comfortable playing it at ranges, because some people always tempted to push in. It's not a pushing ship at all. Otherwise, you will heavily suffer. You will lose you will lose this ship very quickly, and that's why it's going to be difficult. But if you are a kiter, you can definitely love and buy this ship. And also for other game modes, it's absolutely a fantastic pick. Now we also have Alabama B available. And also we have the Massachusetts. Now Alabama can be available for doubloons as well as at the same time money. And Massachusetts will be only available for money. But here's the thing. Alabama seems like, I would say, again, this is my personal opinion, seems like the worst Massachusetts. The only thing that the Alabama has is slightly better torpedo protection. If you take a look at the Massachusetts, you have slightly worse. Just like 3%. So Alabama also have, by the way, 1.9 sigma versus 1.7 sigma, which is a difference for the main battery gun's accuracy, but Alabama does not come up with the secondaries that are really that accurate, whereas the Massachusetts does have improved secondaries, really good dispersion, and also at the same time you also have like improved repair party, like improved cooldown time on the heals, which is the biggest reason why Massachusetts is better over the Alabama. I mean, the healing potential is definitely a need in this time, and Massachusetts deliver well because of the healing potential, because of the secondaries. It will be a lot of fun, whereas in the case of Alabama, you're just getting slightly better accuracy, and that's basically it. Maybe there might be a couple of things that I might be missing, but overall these are the differences compared to the Massachusetts that are very noticeable. Otherwise, well, you can see you have the spotter, fighter. Massachusetts also have the same thing, spotter, fighter. So that's why if you're thinking of buying Alabama, I would say avoid it. Even for other game modes, if you are a collector, again, this is specifically for collectors. If you want to buy a ship, if you are an American, want to buy this ship, want to have this in your collection as Alabama B, well, sure, go for it. Otherwise, everything that Massachusetts does, it does better compared to the Alabama itself. And that's why I would say Massachusetts is definitely superior and sort of a better pick, even though if it's right now available for money, it is still pretty good compared to the Alabama, and that's why I will not going to recommend it in any game modes. I think that if you have the Massachusetts as an option, even if it is for money, I think you should go for that instead of spending some doubloons that you have found maybe from the Grand Voyage event, etc. I have already explained quite some things about the Massachusetts and Alabama, and well, Massachusetts is a no-brainer. Honestly, one of the strongest battleships at Tier 8. It is hell lot of fun and very enjoyable in all game modes. It is very relevant in randoms. It can be sometimes tricky when you are up tiered, but still, if you are top tier, oh boy, it's a beast, man. It's super powerful. It's at top tier, you will be a complete bully. Your entire defense is good. Well, I think compared to the Alabama, maybe you're having slightly better entire defense or worse. But again, the numbers are similar, and if the carrier wants to drop you, I should not really care. But anyways, I was thinking that the entire defense numbers might be worse compared to Alabama, but that's not the case. Almost similar. The guns obviously having slightly worse accuracy, just like I said, and secondaries and the healing, right? And the armor, which by the way is pretty decent. To be honest, it's pretty good. It does not have that 38 millimeter side plating. I think Alabama might have that, but I might need to check. Never mind, it does not have it. So things are very similar, and that's why it's a no-brainer to pick the Massachusetts over Alabama. Absolutely worth it. Probably the highly recommended, and maybe if you want to spend any money right now, any money, if you want to buy a tier 8 battleship, this should be your first pick. It is really that good, especially if you love brawling. If you like brawling, if you want to push under these scenarios, it will be really good. That dispersion, or I would say the sigma parameter that is worse compared to Alabama, does not feel that bad if you are playing in close ranges, because again, the dispersion will be a lot better overall, because again, you are closer to the target. So that's why Massachusetts definitely recommended for all game modes. It is a no-brainer. It will absolutely smash in co-op, operations, even asymmetrics. It's really, really strong. Oh, I just absolutely love it. And I think if you have money, you can invest in this battleship without the blink of an eye. Now, if we take a look at this French Tier 9 premium battleship Jean Bart, that is also, by the way, available directly for money, well, I can say one thing. Jean Bart is not going to be that competitive. If we take a look at the guns, these are only 380mm, which means very low caliber, which means you cannot overmatch many cruisers if they have, or at least something that has more than 26mm of plating. You cannot overmatch it, right? 27mm cruisers, they can bounce your shells. So Jean Bart can sometimes be having issues, and then you have to switch to HE, which again, it's a very good thing. Jean Bart does have really good guns. Reload time is good. Jean Bart is not that competitive, okay? HP pool, you can also say it's okay, but even apart from these things, it's super fun battleship. This is about the fun if you want to have on a battleship. Jean Bart is hell lot of fun. Now, the Jean Bart obviously comes up with the main battery load booster, which is the biggest part and the biggest thing that I absolutely love about. You have the speed boost, which is good. You have the guns that you can basically use, while staying super angle like this. You do have enough armor to not get overmatched, exception will be there, which is the Musashi, Yamato, incomparable Shikishima, Satsuma. If you are, up tiered, there are super ships out there. I mean, that's the matchmaking curse if you are playing tier 9 premiums. And by the way, it earned a lot of credit since it's a tier 9 premium. That is something that I would say for sure that it is really good at if you have a good game. Also, one thing that is surprisingly decent about the Jean Bart is anti defense. Like, surprisingly, it has decent anti numbers. Now, you cannot say that I'm just going to shred tier 10 planes. No, that's not the case. Tier 10 planes, I'm not going to say that you can shred them, but you can still be at least shooting down planes. At least you will be getting some sort of response from the anti-air. Whereas some cruisers or destroyers maybe shoot down like 1 or 2 planes. Jean Bart will shoot at least 5 or 6 planes. If it tries to drop you, and if you are in kiting, carriers can lose some planes. At least that is the thing. Even though the carriers will still farm you to that if they want to. If they want to have a crossfire against you, That is something that you cannot avoid in any other class, except from the carriers itself, because they don't need to risk the hull, but at least something to know. But man, the guns are really good. Like, guns have really good shell velocity, really good dispersion with 1.9 sigma, sometimes trolley, but most of the time pretty decent. Speed boost is there, healing is there, you don't have any special gimmicks around heals. Range is really, really impressive. 24.5 kilometer range means that you can just play it at long ranges and you will be still very comfortable. And you can even push when you want to and have this, engagement while just fully angled, which obviously someone can utilize this armor. But look at the armor. The armor is protected from these areas, from the turrets and also from the cunning tower, which means that sometimes not so good accurate battleships will struggle to even shoot at your superstructure. That is something that I have found when playing John Bart. So is it fun? Absolutely. Is it really competitive like the Valparaiso? No, Valparaiso is an entirely different level of ship. Okay, as a brawler, it's I'm not gonna say it's a brawler. It's not, but you can engage in sort of a brawling when the opportunity arises, when you know that you can fight 1 versus 1 without getting into crossfire. And by the way, your armor, it's all over the place, not good. 32mm plating means, again, if a single cruiser that have 32mm pen farm you will be farmed really, really quickly. You don't have anything to heal for yourself back faster. These are the things that you have to be careful from the John Bart, but it's a fun ship. Honestly, if you want to play it in the co-op battles, reload booster can be so much fun. Asymmetrics, like even in the randoms, if you are top tier, it's a bully. It can be bully. You just surprise battleships, cruisers with the reload booster, smashing them with these fast shell velocity guns. I like John Bart. I might have some bias, but John Bart is a fun ship, really fun ship, and that's why I kind of have this biasness going for it. But again, if you want to really get like, oh, I'm just gonna get an overpowered battleship, it's not. It used to be really strong when it got released, but nowadays we have so much overmatch, we have so many things going for it, so many healing gimmicks, so many F keys. John Bart started to feel a bit, like slightly a bit power craft, not gonna lie, and especially with them, only having main battery load booster and kind of wargaming like, I'm just gonna add a ship with having F key. I'm just gonna add a ship with having some gimmicks, gimmick upon gimmick, which John Bart doesn't, because it's an older ship, so they can't give the gimmick like those of F keys we find on Valparaiso. So that's the thing why John Bart can be pretty simple, but it is very fun, satisfying in all game modes. I love it, and I think if you want to buy a fun, really fun battleship, it is definitely pretty good. Now, if we take a look at the Alaska, which is the battle cruiser. And I would say I still really love Alaska. I have some bias. The guns are the biggest reason why I love Alaska. The HP pool and the armor is also one of the biggest reasons that I still like Alaska. Even though it can be overmatched, it does have some issues with the armor scheme. As you can see, this can be overmatched by a lot of battleships that have, I would say, 430mm guns. And even 406mm guns can overmatch the 28mm plating. You can be overmatched from the bow. There are some issues, but even though you do have some areas like this deck and some areas that you can protect yourself, Alaska is a cruiser that if you want to get the amazing gun performance experience, if you want to do reliable damage, and if you want to smash cruisers, if you want to deal good damage to destroyers with the battle cruiser dispersion and 2.5 sigma, this is the thing. The guns is the biggest reason, and obviously overall the armor and all that stuff kind of makes it like a small battleship. If I really think it that way, the armor profile is that of tier 7s, but your gun performance is really like that of tier 9.5 or something like that, maybe slightly like tier 10s, because your reload time is good, your dispersion is really good, you will get spicy volleys. Like when I'm saying spicy volleys with Des Moines pen angles, but the Des Moines pen angle is absurd in smashing cruisers at mid to close ranges. And Alaska basically dials it up further because you have better penetration. And then when it got released, Alaska, it used to be known as the cruiser killer, because how brutally it smashes cruisers at broadside, and it still brutally smashes anything that show broadside around 13, 14, 15, 16 kilometers. Yes, at ranges, Alaska shells will be very arcier. They can take some time. This is one of the things that you have to really take care of to understand the gun performance, but reliability, the performance from the HE, from the AP, you cannot go wrong with the guns. And you also have the radar to counter DDs, hydro to counter DDs and cruisers and all that stuff that pushes you. And you also have the heals. And it kind of feels like the mini battleship at tier 9. Armor wise, it can be a bit rough, but very highly recommended. If you want to get the guns, great gun experience, that penetration, that improved pen angles, that cruiser killing performance, Alaska is amazing. Alaska is like really cool battle cruiser. I love it. I still love it, even though it got released many years ago. It still has its niche going for it. Even though we do have the Yoshinos and Nozumas, the pen angles are something that you only find on Alaska, and that's why I absolutely love it. It's pretty decent. Did good job even against even against all the battleships. Now, if you take a look at the randoms, obviously super ships can make your life a bit more worse than anything, because they can just smash you, which can be pretty much relevant for John Bart or any ship at tier 9. This is a curse that you have now with the introduction of super ships, that you can be fighting super ships, but at least it's still pretty decent. If you are top tier, you will be literally like bullying to the peak levels tier 7 cruisers. It's not even funny. You can even overmatch their armor if they have really thin plating, because you do have 16mm overmatch, which is again a benefit against Minotaurs, Colberts as well. So that is something that I would say Alaska is good. Now, if you want to play it in other modes like the Coop battles, operations, definitely. Once the ship is good in randoms, most of the times it's good in other game modes. And for me, I have played in operations. It's hell lot of fun. You will be devastating broadside cruisers because they're most likely moving in straight line. Even in Coop battle, you will be doing really good job. It's a great cruiser, man. Honestly, you get that speciality of the guns that you cannot get it in anyone. Like, yes, Stalingrad you can relate with Stalingrad, but Stalingrad has its different niche. A Soviet niche, gun performance is different. Alaska has American gun performance, which you cannot find it, like literally cannot find it in anything. Now, Asashio, a tier 8 Japanese destroyer, is a very interesting sort of niche. It's a niche destroyer. Now, the thing about the Asashio is that you have special deep water torpedoes, insane range, really high damage torpedoes. Obviously, this is typical Japanese torpedo, so you can expect a lot of damage. You throw a lot of tops, 8 of them, but you can get even more access to torpedoes thanks to the reload booster. And well, Asashio can be a feast or famine. And the reason why Asashio is kind of like that, because, well, these torpedoes can only land battleships and carriers. They can only deal damage to these classes, which means what you will be doing against cruisers, and the only way to dealing with them is to basically farm them with the guns. Your torpedoes are useless, unfortunately, that's the reality. But if you want to farm battleships, that's where it is the beast, and that is where you will get your feast. And that's where you will love it. And you can throw the torpedoes at 13-14 kilometers away on a battleship, and then you will, like, after some time, boom, 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 and you will get 1 torpedo, 2 torpedo, and those torpedoes are basically undodgeable. These torpedoes you can dodge. The reaction time is literally 0. I mean, considering that we have a lot of players that are older, and also the reaction time, obviously it's impossible. It's impossible even for a younger player like me. It's ridiculously impossible. These torpedoes are pretty potent, but obviously having limitations, and that's why it's a famine sort of thing. Sometimes you have destroyers that will just absolutely annihilate you because you are, I would say, under a tier 10 matchmaking where we have a lot of destroyers that will absolutely gonna radar you, do some shenanigans here and there. But at least something that I really like is the concealment. The concealment does help a lot. 5.4 kilometer concealment, well, it kind of reminds me of the Jaeger. And well, the torpedoes are not like that of Jaeger. Jaeger has a different niche to do damage, while Asashio has a very different niche, very safe niche. If you are thinking of battleship, I wish I want to farm this battleship even at 15 kilometers, well, you will get your wish because of this absurd range. And by the way, the guns are no joke. 6.7 seconds of reload time on these high alpha guns are no joke. And since you always have the opportunity to shoot first, because, well, you will be the guy who will spot him first. Most destroyers does not have that much concealment, unless you are talking about the Cossack. That's an entirely different thing. But most of the time you will have the engagement where you can do damage first, and that's why you can smoke up and farm the destroyer first, and you can disengage with the help of this. Does wonders. The damage output is pretty good. You can get 3k volleys, sometimes 4k volleys if you get all shell hits on a destroyer, enemy destroyer. That's why Asashio can be okay. I'm not gonna say really good, but sometimes can be okay. If you utilizing your smoke and disengaging, utilizing the islands as cover, like quickly getting into the covers and trying to just get that extra shot. That's where Asashio can be sometimes getting that edge against enemy destroyers. Otherwise, the gunboat destroyers, obviously they have superiority. You will have struggle. I don't expect the guns to do like crazy, to be honest. It's just that you have the extra salvo that you will be shooting first. First, you will be dealing damage. Otherwise, you will struggle heavily against cruisers. You won't be able to do anything, and if the game really ends up with a cruiser and destroyer and you have to fight against them in the randoms, well, it's almost a loss because you can't do anything. You have to really throw your HP or do something extraordinary to kill a cruiser or something like that. So that is not possible. Meanwhile, also there is something that I kind of not like Asashio more, is that, well, you can say that it does perform well in Coop battles, in, I would say, operations, but again, the more cruisers and the more destroyers the operations, the Coop battles, or I would say even the asymmetric battles have, the more difficulty the Asashio gets, because your torpedoes will not going to be reliable even though you throw a lot of them with the help of the torpedo load booster. So that is totally up to you. Asashio is definitely fun. Again, something just like the John Bart. It is a lot of fun if you want to get some torpedo hits at long ranges. Definitely an interesting ship to pick, but otherwise it's a very niche specific. You might not like it because sometimes you will be feeling helpless. Sometimes you will be feeling like, how I will be taking on the cruisers and destroyers. These are the questions that if you ask yourself, and if you have some good answer, maybe buy this ship. Otherwise, for me, it's a difficult ship to play, but a fun ship. Fun ship, I will give a lot of points, but in terms of competitiveness, it can be sometimes a struggling DD. Now, if I take a look at the tier 10 battleship, Rhode Island, honestly, I have made some videos about it, and it's the best Black Friday ship of 2025. Now, first of all, it's a rare ship. You don't find it anywhere, and I haven't seen it in any other thing except in the Santa containers. Maybe it was available in an event, so it's a very rare ship. Obviously, there is some FOMO, but honestly, the ship is so good in terms of the gun performance. Really powerful HE. Improved pen angles on AP. Your dispersion is insane. You have battlecruiser dispersion. You can apply the dispersion mod. You can have a decent HP on this ship, even though it's almost like a cruiser because of the plating. You have 27mm plating, but again, if you it's a battleship, and you might complain, oh, it's having 27mm bow and stern, but again, if you really compare it with cruisers, it suddenly starts to become extremely powerful, because it's kind of like the battle cruiser, like you find kind of like the armor like that of Alaska, but better. Puerto Rico, but better, because you are very much able to protect yourself from getting the overmatch. You can see you can't be overmatched. You have some 38mm plating. Obviously, you have the superstructure. You have some areas where you can be overmatched, but you will be very resistant compared to many other cruisers. And you still have better caliber. You still have very good reload time. You still have improved healings. You heal very quickly. 30 seconds of cooldown time, having 9km radar, so you can even bully DDs, and you are one of the fastest battleships in the game. Every single gimmick that you can think of that relates to today's meta, Rhode Island have it all. Honestly, everything that you want to have in a high game impact battleship, Rhode Island has it. And that's why, if you want to play it in randoms, if you want to play it in Coop battles or anything, absolutely worth it. It's a very powerful destroyer. Oh, sorry, powerful battleship destroyer. I always think of it as having the speed boost, and it gets to like 40 plus knots, and that's why in my mind sometimes it becomes a destroyer. Yeah, I'm just joking, guys. But anyways, you know, the Rhode Island is pretty powerful and a worthy of a ship. And you should get it for all game modes, for sure. Now, if we take a look at the Puerto Rico, first of all, well, it's available in the 4-ship bundle. That's gonna cost you almost $400. Now, that is pretty expensive. To be honest, the amount of the price that Wargaming asking for Puerto Rico Black version, it's already making me really tough to recommend, even though overall, as a cruiser, it's the Alaska at tier 10. You have extra turret. As you can see, you have 12 guns, 305mm guns. It does have battleship dispersion, which I don't understand why Wargaming somehow managed to give battleship dispersion. They were thinking at that time that it will be too good of a cruiser, which it kind of still is. It's not bad, but your dispersion can be sometimes trollish. You do have improved Sigma parameter, which is 2.2, which makes accuracy decent, but sometimes you get that battleship dispersion lips making that trollish shells all over the place sometimes, but most of the time accurate. But even then, if you have Alaska, if you want to play Alaska at tier 9, Puerto Rico becomes a lot difficult to recommend. So I would say overall worse dispersion, and also if we take a look at the, I would say, advantages that the Puerto Rico has, I think there are 2 key advantages. Now, first of all, you have 30mm side armor, which means that you will be more resistant to 406mm guns. Alaska can't. It will be overmatched. Obviously, the Puerto Rico can be overmatched from the bow, just like the Des Moines. So that is one thing. Also, the thing about the Puerto Rico is you have like underwater citadel, so at long ranges you can be sometimes citadel. As you can see, look at the citadel, it's definitely below waterline, and even better compared to the Alaska itself. And so if you are at close ranges, right, you can be very difficult to citadel, which is definitely gonna help Puerto Rico a lot compared to the Alaska. That's where you do have some advantage. So if a battleship shooting at long ranges, you can be citadels, but it is very difficult. This is the biggest advantage that the Puerto Rico has over Alaska. But the guns are same. The dispersion is slightly worse. Now, if you want to pay that much money, you can do it. If you are a collector, you can buy this ship. That's perfectly fine. But I'm not gonna recommend you. It's an Alaska at tier 10, but slightly worse. You have slightly worse concealment as well. 13 kilometer. So that is totally up to you. But in randoms, it can be a bit tricky sometimes because of a lot of overmatching battleships. But once you are talking about the asymmetric battles, Coop battles, scenarios, Puerto Rico shines. It's a really good ship then. Like, just like Alaska tier for tier, it's better than Puerto Rico. But the Puerto Rico is in operations, in, I would say, other scenarios, since you do have a lot of shells to throw at, and you can be pushing at mid to close ranges, the Puerto Rico will be slightly better. And that's the thing, it's slightly better in the other game modes other than randoms, like the operations, the scenarios, and also the asymmetrics. That's where I would say Puerto Rico will be overall doing better. Obviously, you do have the fires that can be rough. You cannot use fire prevention. Your fire duration will be 60 seconds. That is something that you have to really take care, even with the Alaska. So that is something. But even then, it's a very good ship. A bit too much pricey. But if you want to get it with the Rhode Island, well, you can do that. That is totally up to you. I would say it's recommended for other game modes. In randoms, I would say Alaska is better. If you have the Alaska, then try to avoid Puerto Rico for randoms specifically. Now we have quite some ships remaining, like the Nostroshimi B, the Carl 14 Johann B, the Brisbane, the Azuma, the Napoli, the Yoshino, the Iwami, the Pommern, the Kearsarge, and also the Black. But here's the thing, these all ships are available right now for coal, so there's no need to rush or hurry getting yourself the Black version, unless you might want to get some doubloons as compensation. But I mean, it's a small compensation, right? So as you can see, we have the Black B, we have the Nostroshimi B, and obviously we do get the Brisbane B, the Napoli B, then Yoshino B, then I think we do also get the Kearsarge B, Iwami B, Azuma B. So we have all the other ships like the Pommern B. So we have all the ships that I haven't talked about for this video, these ships are available for coal. So you do not need to buy them. You can buy them at any point because they are available for indefinite period of time, unless Wargaming coming up with a scheme where they say, okay, now we want to have the ship rotation for coal ships. If that's the case, which unfortunately might happen in future, might happen. I'm not sure about this, but this can happen. But if it does, well, then it's bad. Unfortunately, I can't do anything. But you are having these ships available right now, so you do not need to think about them. You should buy those ships that are not available for coal. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you get the idea of these ships. Let me know what do you think about these Black Friday ships and what ship you are about to buy. You can basically tell me in the comment section. I will absolutely going to reply. If there's anything that you need to know, I can answer that. Just comment on my YouTube channel down below on this video and I will definitely get a comment. So take care guys, and by the way, last but not the least, I would like to say many thanks to my Patreon members. We have another Patreon member and he's a great guy, Ranger3. Thank you for joining to my Patreon. Power Repulse, Edward Mackey and Dutch Print. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for supporting me directly. And if any one of you want to support me directly, you can definitely join my Patreon. The link in the video description below, so you can check out anytime and get some extra benefits along supporting me and my channel. So take care guys. Till then, peace out.